you are an entrepreneur, a professional, a speaker, or a coach, and although you've come a long way, it's time for you to take it to the next level. We've got you. This is the Author to Authority podcast. We'll help you use authority and influencer marketing to build your business stronger and faster by publishing a book. You'll hear from guests that are thought leaders in sales, marketing, networking, communication, social media, promotion, and business leadership. Let's do it. This is the Author to Authority podcast. And now your host, the extraordinary word ninja, Kim Thompson-Pinder.
Welcome to the Author to Authority podcast. And today I am so excited to have Steve Lowell back on the show. And the last time he spoke about having 100K speech. And by the time he was done, I was drooling. Today, he's going to talk about the hidden secrets of language. So I'm really curious about where this is going to go. But knowing Steve, he's been on the show a few times, you are going to come out of this with actionable steps that is just going to help you take your speaking and your business forward. Steve is a multi-award winning speaker, 3 times #1 bestselling author, and master trainer for high-impact speakers with a track record that speaks for himself. He's given over 3,500, that's in the thousands, of speeches, 5,000 seminars, and trained more than 500,000 speakers globally. Wow. Steve delivers innovative strategies that help speakers drive revenue from the stage and build wealth through speaking. Welcome to the show, Steve. Good to have you back.
Well, it's great to be here, Kim. You know, this is one of my favorite podcasts to do because we always have so much fun when we do this.
I know. We have these great conversations that I just enjoy. So when you said, can I come back on? The answer is always yes.
All right. Well, let's have some fun.
So, Steve, I'm going to ask you just the obvious question to get started. So, are there hidden secrets to language?
Yeah. Oh, sure. There's lots of them, and these are not necessarily difficult things to understand. We're not going to go into too deeply into like the neuroscience and the art of persuasion and all those things. I mean, we could go down that path, but for most people, there's just some simple knowledge that all you need to do is be aware of and then execute, deliberately, and make a world of difference in how you present and how you're understood.
This is why I wanted you back on the show.
Okay, let's do it.
So, Steve, let's just share a quick update. The last time you were on was September of 2023. So that was episode 415. If you guys want to go back and check that out, the 100K speech. What's been going on in your life since then?
Oh, wow. There's always great things going on. So we've got, always trying new programs, keeping up with what our clients are asking for and developing things to service that. So recently we've gotten heavily into the webinar space. We realize that a lot of our clients are speaking, but not all of them now want to get on stages, right? And I think what happened, Kim, is through COVID, people got used to the virtual delivery thing. And they like it. And I don't blame them. I like it, And so now we're hearing, what can I do through speaking that is not requiring me to travel around the country, get on stages, And so webinars have popped back up. So we're helping people craft their own evergreen webinars and host them and teach them how to do that. So that's been an interesting turn for us lately.
And you are one of the lucky Canadians who are not in Canada right now enjoying winter. Where are you? What are you up to down in the southern states?
Avoiding winter is what we're up to in the southern states. And now we're, right now it's end of February or mid-February. We're heading back next week because we have some things we have to do at home. But we have a lot of clients down here. We have a lot of friends down here. And so when we come down in the wintertime, we sort of plan ahead to make sure we've got people to see down here and business to do and that kind of thing. So that's one of the great things, right, about having a virtual type business or a business like us is we can go anywhere. Last year, we were here. A few years ago, we were in South Africa. And we've spent, a big part of our winters in New Zealand and, in different places, and we can still work from those places. So it's great.
It is. When when we moved to when we were considering moving from Ontario to Nova Scotia, you know, taking my business with me wasn't a consideration because it's a digital online business. I work with people, 100% remotely. So it is a great lifestyle. And we were able to move without it, seriously affecting my business. I mean, it disrupted things trying to clean out a house you've lived in for 30 years and get move in 7 weeks. That was a little disruptive to the business, but I could still carry on. So that is cool. Well, let's get into start with the main topic for today, the hidden secrets of language. Steve, I'm going to let you loose for a few minutes and share some thoughts with us.
Sure. Okay. So today, here's how we're going to package this. We're going to use the term language to encompass more than just your words. We're going to use the term language to encompass everything about you that expresses your facial expression, your eyeballs, your movements, your body language, your voice changes, the dynamics and the countenance and the tone, like everything about you that expresses, we're going to wrap that up into language. Because if we try and separate each of those pieces, it can get really complicated and really overwhelming. And really, there's no need to separate them. Let's put them all together and put them all into a package called language. So if we do that, then we can talk about how to use that in order to leverage the power of expression to really elevate the power of your message. Now, having said that, let's do this as well. Let's take a look at the different purposes for speaking, because when we look at the whole concept of language, the way we use those concepts is to reach a desired outcome when we speak. And so a lot of people get confused. What is the outcome of speaking? Why are we even there? And so I want to break it up into 3 categories. Okay. First category is going to be speaking, like getting on a stage or a screen and giving a keynote style address. What is the purpose of that? And so let me ask you, Kim, what do you think the purpose is? If I get in front of an audience or you get in front of an audience, what is my primary function as a speaker? What do you think?
I would think it would be to create relationship with the audience.
Okay. And so to create relationship with an audience is a very, very good answer. And there's a lot of different ways to create a relationship with the audience. And so what happens is the way that we generally create a relationship with the audience really depends on our background. So if I'm a teacher, if I come from a teaching background, which a lot of speakers do, then my perception is I want to create a relationship with the audience by teaching them something. If I'm a coach and if I have a coaching background, I want to create a relationship with the audience by guiding them and coaching them and solving a problem. But the thing is, in the forum of speaking, teaching them is not the way you build a solid relationship, and coaching them is not how you build a solid relationship. The purpose of speaking is a transference of emotion. So speaking is not a transference of information. Speaking is a transference of emotion. So my job as a speaker is to get you to feel about my message the way I feel about my message. My job as a teacher, and my job as a teacher is to teach you what I know. My job as a coach is to teach you, help you to do what I know you can do or what I can do. So we've got feel. I want you to feel like I feel. That's speaking. Teaching. I want you to know what I know. That's teaching. And coaching is I want you to be able to do what I can do. Okay, so they're completely different outcomes. So the way we leverage the power of language depends on those outcomes. And the challenge that I see is speakers get in front of an audience, either virtual or on a stage, and they don't have the right outcome. They're speaking, but they're trying to teach, or they're speaking, but they're trying to coach. And so the outcome doesn't align with the function, right? And so those are the first 2 things we need to know. We're going to take language, pile it all up into one concept, and then apply it according to the desired outcome. And today we'll talk about speaking. So the desired outcome of speaking is to build that relationship with the audience, but do it by transferring the emotion. I want you to feel about my message the way I feel about my message. So if we take that premise and go from there, now we have something specific to pursue.
Love it. Love it, Steve. And I think you've put it in a way that most people don't think about it. Like you said, they think that they either have to get up on stage and teach, they have to coach. But when you look at it from teaching and coaching or even selling, because sometimes that's,
Mhm.
the goal too, right? When you come at it from those perspectives, you don't get the outcomes that you want. You don't get the results that you want because you're not making that connection. When you speak, many times, this is the first time people are hearing you, the first time they're seeing you. And so to just go from them not knowing you at all to respecting you as a teacher, coach, or buying your products and services, sometimes in, let's say a 15 to 45-minute speech, it's not that it's impossible, but you've really got to warm them up first, and you've got to create that relationship with them, especially, if you're keynoting. Now, if you're selling from stage, like we talked about in the $100,000 speech episode, that's a slight bit different. But still, you have to create that relationship with them first because they're not going to buy from you unless they feel like they know, like, and trust you.
Yeah, and so if we take that whole know, like, and trust piece, we hear that all the time. That's a common knowledge thing, right? They know and like and trust. But I've always found that that's not exactly 100% complete. And if we go
Mm,
forth on the premise of if they know me, like me, and trust me, then they're going to hire me, it's not enough. And it's not complete.
mm,
It's not that it's not true. It's just not complete. And there are three other things
yeah.
that I believe need to occur before know, like, and trust even come into the equation. Because I'm sure you're the same. I know lots of people, right? You and we know lots of people, and I like a lot of them. And I trust them. I would have them, stay in my house or whatever, but I would never buy from them or hire them for different reasons. And that doesn't mean that there's
True.
something wrong with them, but there are just some reasons why I would not hire this person that I know, love, and trust. So there are three other things I believe that come into play before know, like, and trust even occur. Number one is the audience, and we may have talked about this on the last episode, but it does come to bear for what we're talking about today. The audience needs to feel from you that you get them. The audience needs to feel understood, right? And the audience wants to go, wow, she gets me. She really understands. She's talking to me, right? And so unless that happens, nothing else matters. And then the second piece is the audience wants to feel safe. They want to feel like, you know what? Kim is not just out to separate me from my money. I mean, I believe that she really has my best interests at heart. She gets me. She has my best interests at heart. And then the third piece is they need to have confidence that you actually have the ability to do what you say you can do. And so if those three things are in place, then I want to know you a little bit better. I want to see if we like each, if I like you, can we work together, and can I trust you? And so I know lots of people that I like and trust, but they don't really understand me. They don't really understand my business.
Yeah.
I'm not certain that they necessarily have my best interest at heart. And I don't know that they have the skill and ability to help me solve my problem, but I still know them, like them, and trust them. So those three
Yeah.
first pieces, this is where the language comes in. This is our language. The way we express language can accomplish those three primary outcomes before know, like, and trust even come into the equation.
Okay, you've just taken it to a new level, Steve. And be honest, I'm not surprised by that. It's kind of like when you know something and it's in the back of your mind and you don't really think about it, and then somebody says something and you're like, I do know that, but like, wow, that just brought it to a new level. And that's what it was like. Those were things that I had realized before, but you put it in such a way that it totally makes sense. And you've extended it out so that, when you're speaking, you now have new goals in mind.
Right.
So I want them to feel safe with me. I want them to believe in my abilities, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you've got my brain spinning there, Steve. I'm going to let you lose a little bit more. But just
Okay,
before we
cool.
do that, we are going to take a quick ad break. Audience, RTI Publishing has lots of free resources for you, and I would love to share with you one of them, the Create and Scale method for helping you to write books that converts readers into clients and scales your business. We'll be right back. Writing and publishing a book that converts readers into client and scales your business is hard, but it doesn't have to be. Get my free checklist at bit.ly/create and scale that will show you what you need to do to have your book become a well-converting lead generating tool. Welcome back. Okay, Steve, my mind is just blown, but I think we need to hear more from you. So I'm going to get you to share a little bit more, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay, sure. Okay. So let's go back to this concept now of language being an all-encompassing concept, that it's everything about you that expresses. So we need to understand that. Okay. And so now that the outcome we know as a speaker, the primary outcome is to get the audience to feel about your message the way you feel about your message. So it's primarily a transference of emotion. Now, that doesn't mean the transference of information doesn't happen. It does. We do teach them things, and we do provide a little bit of coaching along the way as part of the package. But the primary objective is to get the audience to kind of feel like, wow, I need to do something with this, and I think that she can help me or he can help me. And this is a feeling. So if we take those two premises, and we're going to apply 4 principles of language that we can, as speakers, use to achieve these outcomes. And the first principle of language is this: we want our language, wherever possible, to be visual. Now, this can open up a whole discussion, because one of the things we hear a lot about is the use of slides, visuals, pictures, and videos when we speak. And I hear people say all the time, well, I use visuals, to accommodate the visual learners. And well, here's the issue with that. The issue is that if I say something to you, and I'm going to get a little bit deep into some science here, okay? So it kind of works like this. Okay, cool. So our brains, in the simplest form here, absorb information on, let's say, 2 tracks, a video track and an audio track. So what we hear and what we see. And this makes sense. So when we scour the sensory environment, and this is at its most basic level, we hear things, we decode what we hear, and we see things and decode what we see. And we can do the 2 things kind of simultaneously, although not really. But we look and we hear, and we look and we hear, and we see and we hear. And so this is how information comes to us. So the whole concept about using pictures to accommodate, or visuals to accommodate the visual learners, works to a certain extent. So if I see a photo, like up in front of me, there's a photo of a loon in the water, and I look at that, boom, I can see it and I know what it is because I recognize it. When you say something to me, I hear the words, boom, I recognize it. So it doesn't take me much to decode it. But what happens now is this: most people use bullet points when they present, which are not really pictures, these are words. So imagine this now. Okay, you're speaking to me. There's words coming from your mouth. So that's an audio track. So your words are coming in. There's an audio track going into my mind. Now on the screen are bullet points. And so the theory is I'm looking at the bullet points. And so I can see the information, but that's not actually true. Because what happens is when I see the words on the screen, my brain sees those words as pictures and takes those words and converts them into sound so that I can understand it. That's why if I were to take bullet points and put them up on the screen in Mandarin or in Arabic, my English speaking audience wouldn't understand what they say, because we read those words, we don't know what the sounds are. So when we read words, we are using the audio track, not the visual track. So now what happens is you're speaking, I'm reading the words, I've got 2 simultaneous messages coming in the audio track and at slightly different speeds, because my brain decodes your voice faster than it decodes the words. And it's like 2 people speaking at you saying the same thing at different rates. And you know how confusing that can be. And that's what happens to the brain. So here's what we want to do. With our communication, with our language, everything about us that expresses, we want it to be visual, because we want to paint a picture in the audience's mind that they can then build. So here's an example. I'm just going to use 3 very basic words, okay? And I do this with a live audience all the time, and watch what happens here. Okay? It's really interesting when there's a large audience. So I'll say 3 words, okay? Young, beautiful bride. Okay, so Kim, let me ask you, what color is her hair?
Brown.
Where's she standing?
Beside the groom.
And what's she wearing?
In the church. A white wedding gown.
Okay. Now, I didn't give you any of that information, right? I just said young, beautiful bride. And what happens is, with a little bit of guidance from me, a little bit of prompting, you create the visual in your own mind. So I have just used visual language. All right. And so with the audience, this is what we do with an audience is, and if I do this with a live audience and I go, what color is her hair? It's blonde, it's red, it's black. What's she wearing? A wedding dress. She's wearing a scuba gear, whatever. But people create their own vision in their own mind. So now we've planted a picture in your mind. Now we're accommodating the visual learning. But not only are we accommodating the visual learning, we have now planted a picture in your mind, and the rest of the story you are creating as an audience member.
Yes.
And you're putting in the details from your memories, your creativity, your belief systems, whatever's rolling around in there. And now you become a co-author of the story rather than a passive recipient of the story. And so now you're getting the visual of it. And as I tell the story and as I keep going through the talk, I'm helping you build that story with everything, not just my words, but with everything. And so that's the visual piece. All right. So when we say we want the language to be visual, we want the audience to create their own visual based on our prompting. We guide the story, but they create the story in their minds. So that's the visual piece. The second component of language is we want it to be emotional. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we want to jump up and down and yell and cry and scream and swear, although all of that could happen. But from our entire presence, we want the audience to understand the emotional context of the story they are now creating. And so what are you supposed to feel during this story? And you can do that very simply with very few, even just with words. So I'm going to say a few words, and then you tell me what the visual or what the emotional context is. Okay, here are the words. For sale, baby booties, never used.
Yeah.
Now, see, I can hear it in your voice. I can see it in your face. And so now you understand what the emotional context of that story is. And so that was just with words. But imagine how we can express emotion, how we can transfer emotion if we use our facial expressions, if we use our voice and our hands and our eyeballs and everything about us that expresses. I don't have to tell you how it feels. I want you to feel how it feels. And I do that by expressing how it feels. And it's all language, right? And so a lot of speakers, they will go through the whole monologue about how it felt. It felt stressed and it felt scary and it felt, sad and it felt heavy, and all of that's okay. But those are just words occupying the audio track. These are not feelings that the audience experiences. So we want the audience to experience, whether it's joy or whether it's victory or whether it's anger or whatever it is, we want to express it with our full language arsenal so that the audience has the emotional context. Okay, so now what's happening is in the audience's mind, they're creating the story in their mind based on our communication, on our language. They're getting the emotional context based on our communication. And now guess what? They're thinking, wow, he really gets me. She really gets me, because I'm not telling them my story. I'm helping you create your story. It just happens to be from my circumstances, you see? So that's like very powerful, piece of language. So now we've talked about two, right? We've talked about language being visual, language being emotional. And the third is we want the language to be what I call in motion. And what that means is so it's not enough that the audience sees the picture and feels the emotional context of the picture. The brain is triggered by movement. And you've done this, right? Kim, you're at the computer and something, flashes over here. Right? And you can't not notice it. You can't not look at it. I mean, everything else in the universe stops until you go like this and see that it was just a reflection in the mirror. But you must look at this, whatever it is. And it's not the same with sound. You can hear something behind you and you can avoid that. But when you see something, it's almost impossible just to avoid it. And if you try to avoid it, it's going to occupy your brain space and take your attention off everything you're doing. So just go ahead and look at it and bring your face back, right? So it's the emotion that makes that happen. So when we speak, You'll notice even right now, you see, I'm moving, right? Because I only have a little Hollywood square here. And so, but I want to express the power of everything that I'm sharing with you. So with motion, the way we do that as speakers is we put the story in motion. We put the dialogue or the monologue in motion. And that means basically there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And there's stuff that happens in between. And so the audience wants to see it unfold in their mind's eye. So if we can take them on the path, take them on the journey as we go, and we use visual and emotional language all the way through, now what happens is they're creating this entire movie in their mind, all based on your language. And now they're thinking, wow, this sounds like my story. I've seen this. I've seen this before. Well, of course they've seen it before. They've created it in their mind. Okay? Yeah, I know exactly how that feels. Of course you know how it feels because you're feeling it. Okay? And then they watch it unfold and they go, yeah, this sounds just like my experience. Yes, because you're creating it in your mind. And now they go, wow, this speaker really gets me. And you know what? Because they understand me, I think I feel safer because I'm just like this person, that kind of thing. And then there is a fourth one. There's a fourth principle to language, which is really important. That is this. And sadly, I'm not expressing it well today, but it's this. We want the language to be succinct, which means short, because the shorter the language, the less amount of detail that we put in a message, the higher the comprehension and retention in the audience. That's why there's a trend. Everything is getting shorter now. Like keynotes used to be 90 minutes. Then there were 60. Now they're like, the average keynote address now is 20 minutes long. TED Talks, 18 minutes. When you go to online to YouTube or to TikTok, you're not going there watching the full videos. You're watching the shorts, which are like 15 seconds. Boom, 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 like this, right? Even ads, when you go online now, of course, the commercials have found their way into cyberspace, and you can't open anything without an ad. And the longest ad I've ever seen out there is 60 seconds. And I flip. I'm not waiting 60 seconds to get to what I want. I don't want to see anything bad enough to wait 60 seconds for it. 15 seconds irritates me, but that's my tolerance. And I think that's for most people. So as a species, we're getting like this. I want it now. I want it this big and I want it right now, and so our language needs to be abrupt and it needs to be succinct. So when we take these four characteristics of language, we make it visual, we plant the picture in their mind, we make it emotional, they have the emotional context, and we put it into motion, they watch it unfold and they're engaged. And if we can make it fast and quick, it's like, wow, that was whoa, like that. And that's what we're after as a speaker.
Wow, we've only got a few minutes left and there's not even enough time to start unpacking that. But when you were talking, so I've got something to admit to you, Steve. I was speaking in December and I was selling a new product. And so yours was one of the speeches, one of your webinars. Actually, it wasn't a webinar. It was sort of an intro to get people to go on the webinar.
Mm-hmm.
But I took that and I broke that down and I figured out what you did in the speech and I copied not your words, but some of the things that you did. But, when you talk about sort of those word pictures, I incorporated that in. I usually start my story, I call it the power of words. And I say, my story starts when my mom dies when I'm 4 years old. And then I pause for that moment. Why? Because I want them to picture it. I want them to feel it, right? And they do. Then one of the other moments when you were talking just kind of reminded me. I talk about in my story about the fact that, when I was writing my first book, I almost didn't do it. And my laptop almost went out the window so many times. But if it did, my computer guru husband would have divorced me. And when you were talking, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about all these little things that I'm trying to put in to my speaking. And I realized that, when you can create that picture, like you said, now it's not just your story, it's their story seen through the eyes of yours. And that is something that is powerful, and it's not always easy to do.
No, it's not. So let me give you a formula. Okay. I'm gonna give
I like
you a
formulas.
secret formula for setting up the visual in a story. Okay. Using visual language and maybe putting the emotional trigger in there as well. So two things. Number one is consider speaking in present tense instead of past. So
Ooh.
instead of the most difficult time in my life was when my mother passed when I was 4 years old. I mean, that's a pretty good start. Now consider it this way. I'm 4 years old. Now you go in present tense. So now we answer some questions, simple questions, and these can all be done in a sentence fragment. Okay. And here are the questions. Well, when was it? When I was 4 years old. That was answered. Where did it happen? I'm 4 years old and I'm standing in the hospital beside my mother's bed. Okay. And so when did it happen? Where did it happen? Who was there is the next question. I'm 4 years old and I'm standing in a hospital beside my mother's bed looking at my mom. Okay. And now the next question is, what was said? So when did it happen? Where did it happen? Who was there? What was said? I'm standing at the end of so I'm 4 years old and I'm standing in the hospital beside my mom's bed and I'm looking at my mom and I'm saying to myself, this may be the last time I ever see her. And now you see, now you've just planted a picture and you've given the emotional context to everybody in the audience. Now they're going to go to their own, and it may not be the bedside of their mother. They're going to take that sequence that you told them and create their own picture of whatever it is from their own memories. So now here are the two in contrast. Okay. One of the worst times in my life was when I was 4 years old and my mother died. That's number one. Okay. Let me take you back to the worst time in my life. I'm 4 years old and I'm standing in the hospital beside my mother's bed looking at my mom as she's passing. And I say to myself, you know what? This is the last time I'm ever going to see mom. You see the difference in impact between those two things? Saying the same thing. But this is how you use the magic, the secrets of language. And understanding these little principles can mean a huge difference in how your story and how your message is received by that audience.
I'm going to be going back and reviewing this video, Steve.
Good. But here's what I really like though, Kim. I love this. I love that you're taking the wisdom that you and I share together and actually apply it. And most people, be honest with you, most people don't, right? And most people are going to listen to this podcast as they listen to all the others, and they're going to get one or two great ideas, and I'm going to do that next time. And then life happens and it kind of fades. But I love the fact that you take something that we're doing and you take the first step in applying it, and that's the start, right? And now it's just a matter of doing it and getting better at it.
Here's the thing I've learned, and it was funny. This speech that I did in December, I was talking about some of the things you have to do to get ready to write your book or do great content in that. And so as I was going through the speech, I picked very specific things. And then at the end of it, I said, now that I've did this, I just taught you how to do it as I was explaining why you needed to do it. So when I had finished my story, I looked at them and I said, now, do you think I just came up with that story, or do you think I just crafted that for you today? And they all of a sudden, they went, and I smiled and I looked at them and I said, that story was intentional. And I told them why I told the story. And then I explained to them why they have to have a powerful story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't tell it anywhere as probably as good as you would have had me do it, but the effect was the same. They looked at me and went, oh, maybe I should spend some time and, work on my story, work on how I present myself when I get these opportunities. I said to them, when you're at a networking meeting and someone pulls you up on stage and you have 30 to 60 seconds to make an impression, what are you going to say?
What are you going to say? That's right.
And it was funny because I was talking about credibility and visibility in your business and using them. And I said, visibility, I said, I can't really help you with that today. I've got a 45-minute time to talk to you. I can't do much. I said, but I can increase your credibility in a few minutes. And they all looked at me and they went, no, there's no way. And I said, okay. I said, who wants their credibility increased in a few minutes? So I brought a lady up on stage. she introduced herself, and within about 5 to 6 minutes, I had rewritten her introduction, and everybody went from being, yeah, she's kind of cool, to being very impressed.
Nice. Oh, good for you. That's great. Well, that's the power of language, right? And all we need to do is understand that everything about us expresses more than just the words. And now the words obviously are important, but we want the audience not just to hear what we say. We want the audience to feel what we feel.
Yeah. Steve, we are out of time. I would love to keep going, but you talk about the short space, and half an hour is about the extent that my audience likes these episodes. So you are going to come back another time, Steve. We will have you back again. But just as we end, do you have a quick final thought? And if people have enjoyed this, not if people have enjoyed this today, how can they connect with you?
Well, the best thing to do is this. I'm actually giving away one of my books, my first book, called From Stage Fright to Spotlight, 99 Speaker Secrets to Breaking the Rules and Mastering the Stage. And they can download that at stevelowell.com/free-book. stevelowell.com/free-book. It's a PDF. You'll get it right away. Lots of really great tips and techniques in there. So have fun with that. And any way they want to get a hold of us, they can reach us at stevelowell.com. There's lots of things going on there. So we're easy to find.
Oh, audience, it is that time again when it is time to let you go. If you are watching on YouTube, I want to encourage you to go back to episode 415. It's Steve's last time he was on here about creating $100,000 speech. You know the routine, audience. If you're on YouTube, my daughter has placed the thumbnail somewhere here on the screen. Excuse me. If you're on your favorite podcast app, you're going to be scanning back 60 to 70 episodes. Yes, it's been that many, Steve, since the last time we've been together. Wow. But I promise you, if you've enjoyed this one, you're going to want to go back and watch that one too. Audience, have a great day, and we will see you on the very next episode. Bye now.
You've been listening to the Author to Authority podcast. The extraordinary word ninja, Kim Thompson Pinder, has helped over 200 entrepreneurs, professionals, speakers, and coaches write and publish their books that have become incredible marketing tools for their business. And many of those have gone on to become Amazon best-selling authors and have used their books to land high-level clients and get on big stages. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit the website at www.authortoauthoritypodcast.com. See you next time.